Greetings, everyone. How are you? What's going on? What's happening? Happy hump day to you. I'm doing another test stream, and my test streams are always going to have questions. Of course, I need you guys to let me know if the sound is good, if you do see my sharing of the screen, is the sound matching up with the mouth movement, that type of thing. Um, Hey, Lady V, what's going on? Vonda H, Vonda H, Vonda H. Hey, CJ, how are you? My latte butte, Sir Obadiah. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate the help I can get. Just DeAndre, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. It is so much going on in the YouTube streets. It is a little disappointing because if you remove yourself from it, you will just look at the characters in question. And I do mean characters. I just don't get it. Well, I do if I just stop and think about it and analyze it, then yes, I do get it. But last week I shared a um, live stream when I was testing with I say last week, but Sunday, when I did my first test. I was discussing the behavior I saw, how men was trying to solve a problem between them. And it was ugly. I must say it was ugly. They finally got there, but it taken so long. And I'm like, men, they normally don't take that long, but I don't know. I have a joke. I say they don't make them like they used to. But they say the same thing about women. So I guess it's even. All depends where you come from, how you were raised, and all of that good stuff. Well, tonight everybody's talking, last week everyone's talking about that Moynihan report. I'm like, Lord have mercy. What is going on with that? And for me, I've heard about it because I used to mod for, I say mod, I used to mod for everyone, but um, I used to run the BGS for Women's channel. And on that channel, the ladies come up and we chat and all that stuff. And what happened was, from my understanding, looking at the YouTube post, someone had accused BGS of lying about the Moynihan report. Now, the post I did see, I did agree with the person that said that it is used to talk about Black women. Now that you cannot deny that. That is something you see. You cannot deny that. But this is what I want to do. I'm not going through the Monahan report. I'm just not going to do it. But I am going to take my time and read it for myself because I'm curious. Let me look at it. And there has been a couple of people that have gone through it. Let's see, a couple of ladies. I think what's her name? Cynthia G went through it, and who else? A couple of people have gone through it, and they've had to say what they've had to say about it. But when I first heard it, when I was on about it, the thing and the question, the statement that was made that welfare had taken men out the home. Well, you can view that in a couple of ways. I am not in BGS's mind, so I can't say what he may have meant when he said that. But when I first heard it, because that was how the phrase was mentioned, I taken it as, oh, okay, so if you were going to get welfare, you needed some help. So there was no man there. So you took in you taking the check. Now, if the man came back and you decided not to take him back for whatever reason, then you're choosing the check over the man. That's the way I've taken it. But as far as, like I said, I am not in his mind. I can't explain it of what he meant when he said that. But this is what I want to do tonight. Tonight, I want you guys to remove the man from the what I'm going to play. Don't, on my channel, you already know I'm not one to talk about people, as they say, or my mom used to say, talk about them under their clothes. I'm not trying to say, well, you're lacking here, you're lacking there. That all that means nothing to me. Just the content in general. That's it. So you guys may have some type of, I'm trying to find a nice word to say. You might have something to say about BGS, but he's a good man. He's a nice man. Nothing but love for him. He's helped me not only on YouTube, but also in personal life. So I am so appreciative to him for that. I don't know what your relationship is with him. Maybe you bumped heads in the chat room. Maybe you don't like what he says. Um, and we all have our opinions. You don't have to agree. And then we all have our days. Sometimes we may snap off. So I don't know what your experience is with the man. I don't know. But I will say, I'll ask that you remove those feelings, disregard those, and let's just look at the content tonight. You know, I'm not going to be here as long because in an hour and 20 minutes, Cerulean will be going live, and we do want to support him. That's how we do it over here. We support each other. If we know the person gonna go live, we've seen a post or whatever, we try to adjust so we can support each other. You know, a lot of people don't do that. They don't care. And yeah, I am jumping a little bit back and forth, but there is people that are just for the money. Let's be honest. They're interested in an income. We have so many six-figure folk on YouTube, but they're on YouTube all the time. So where they make their six figures, I don't know. They need to kind of share that secret, but they keep the secrets to themselves. Hey, one G's, what's going on with you? How are you? Good to see you. Welcome on in. Thank you, Simply Neek, for your support. Thank you for coming on in. I always appreciate it. Good to see you. And let's see what else I was doing, because I'm doing a little rambling. I just want to be at the top, off the top of my head, wherever my thoughts go. I'm going to weave in and out of them. It's just like that. Sometimes I like to write things down so I can stay in order. Today, like I said, is a test stream. So even in my test streams, it's going to be some type of learning. And what I mean by learning, I give you something to think about. Just think about it in a different way. Just don't take a talking point, um, what the norm is, and just run with it and live with it. Choose to have your own train of thought. Think for yourself. Don't, because I always look at the way YouTube is. It's a bunch of pastors. They're like, hey, my doctrine is better than their doctrine. Come over here, support my building fund. And then the next preacher, no, nope, nope, nope. That's the wrong God. You're supposed to turn to the east, not the west. Bow down 5 times, wear a hijab. My doctrine is better. Come over here. My color is better. I got a red color. No, purple is the best color. No, black is the one. So it's a whole bunch of that going on. And I don't know. As far as black people, I find that we just look for something to believe in. Because that's all, in my opinion, YouTube church is for the black community. Because men do not like attending physical churches. They don't. They hate to go. Their mothers dragged them on Christmas and Easter, and they, had to suffer through that. And then once they got of age, they like, forget this, I'm out. I don't want to go through this anymore. And then there was YouTube. YouTube, you can click in and you can say, hallelujah, you're right, brother, that's right. These women, this didn't happen for me over here. You're right, you're right, you're right. Here's my donation. And then after they go to that church service, they go to another church service down the block. Oh, let me see what you talking about. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right, brother. Amen. Preach, preach. Here you go. You got a building fund? Here you go. Let me drop this on you. And that's what you see. That's what you see. And when it's all said and done, years has gone by. The building fund continues. The building has not been built. The man's lives have not changed any. If anything, it may be more angrier. If anything. Yeah. So hey, I'm just saying, think about it. Just think, is that what you see? Because that's what I see. Just, observing from a distance. Yeah, but back to what I was saying about the Moynihan report. I get it. If people are really just at this point of what I saw last week, people are just going on that one sentence of what BGS had mentioned about the choice of a check for the men. For myself, when I first heard it back in 2016, I think maybe, I just thought to myself, well, if I'm married to a man and they knock on my door, do, 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 do. Who is it? Welfare. Hello. How you doing? Miss Willie, if you get rid of James, I got a check for you today. Uh, no, thank you. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure about that. Okay, goodbye. And I'm thinking, that's what came to my mind. I kid you not. I'm like, so I'm just gonna trade my husband in. Now, if the woman is hungry or the children hungry, the man is not working, and hey, if that was the case, I could see that. But still, I'm really not even seeing that. I don't know. I need the 80-year-olds to show up. That's one thing. I haven't seen any 80-year-olds talk about that. They may be around somewhere to say, yeah, my name is James, and she put me out, and she took that $200 back in the 70s, in the early 70s. Soon as they included black women, black people at the time, we were Negroes, they were able to accept a check. And just because I, wasn't working and stuff, she trying to take a check so she could feed the children and herself. Ain't that about something? I would look him upside his head like, what the world? But anyway, I'm gonna play this. We're gonna listen to a little bit. You let me know if the sound is good or not. This video is uploaded. It's a little short. I think it's 30 some minutes, but I'm just gonna kind of skim through it, and I'll just give my opinion, thoughts, and everything, and hopefully stimulate your mind. Here goes.
Is twice that for whites. Women had 50% of all black families with children under 18 compared to 15% for white children. Only 41% of black children are living with both parents compared to 80% of white children and 70% of Hispanic children. So while it is true that white families are in trouble, that blacks are not the only ones who have children out of wedlock, the reality says that it's pronounced, it's exaggerated, it's concentrated in many respects among black families. Are you willing to admit that?
I'm not only willing to admit it, I think we've got to sound the alarm about it. And I think increasingly that alarm is being sounded from within the black community, and that is the important change. I think that has occurred. There is no question that this is a phenomenon that stretches across the face of the United States, and I couldn't agree with Jesse more, that we have to deal with it in its national context. At the same time, I think it is clear that it has reached crisis proportions in our community. When half of all the children are being born to single women who are disproportionately poor, we see the face of the next generation of black people. And if we keep this up, if we don't find a way to intervene, and it is so complex that intervention has got to take place on a number of levels, but if we do not find a way to intervene, we are going to see progressively greater disadvantage with each generation of black people, which is the antithesis of the American imperative.
I love his intro. Did you guys hear that clearly? Was the volume all right? Yes, no, maybe so. Could be. I have I think my delay is 15 seconds instead of 10. So I'll wait and look in the chat room and see what your answer is, if you heard it or not. How you doing, Mava Twerks? Extended clips, I think I seen you. Yes, I did. What's happening? What's going on? Thank you so much for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you. Let's see here. All right, I got thumbs up, clear, and yes, perfecto. Yes, okay, good deal. All right. So, with the statement, they're sitting around talking about the state of the black families and what they see, what's going on. Well, it has to do with um, financial restraints or financial issues. They don't have the wealth to continue. Okay, I get that. Now, they did mention, oh, hey, Emmanuel, I didn't say your name. Sorry. How you doing, Emmanuel? Glad to see you. So they know that money is involved, because as a black people, I don't know, let me see, what year was that? I don't know what year this conversation happened, but looking at the frame, probably late 60s, early 70s, I think 72, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever year it was, if you know some history, you do understand that it taken a while. Let me see, Martin Luther King was just killed. They just finished with the um, in the what is it called? Immigration, not immigration, segregation, and they had a war. Um, they also purposely was locking black men from jobs. Let's see. I think they just finished allowing people to, yeah. So they just finished um, coming together, but they still didn't look at black people as people, or they should be equal. With that being said, if they don't have the jobs, which means how can they take care of their family? They said that something needs to be done. They clearly around the round table saying that. Okay, the answer, hey, we need some money. That's just the bottom line. You need money. You need the income. But of course they're not going to do that because if Oklahoma was doing fine and mind their business and see that the black people were doing well, what happened? They went as far as creating bombs and just just destroyed the whole place. So that was planned. You had to what get your flight plans, know how many planes, what kind of bombs, who's going to fly them, the time and day. You did all of that. So you don't want to help black people. All this that no one want to help black people. That's just the bottom line. Think about today what's going on. You got what is that, an Asian bill? I don't know when they started creating that, but the next thing you know, oh, we have a stop the hate Asian bill. So we have funds and we have this, but black people, nothing. So from the 70s on, no extra funding or anything for the family. I'm not just talking about for women. Yeah, they have some things for women and children, but the family. They have no intention on helping the black male. That's terrible. That is really terrible. But I'm going in a little different direction. Like I said, I'm going to say whatever I'm thinking of. Let me play a little bit more here.
All right, this is from the New York Times, November 20th, 1983, The Breakup of the Black Family, Imperial's Gains of Decades. And this is an extension of the results of the Monahan Report. So this will be the Monahan Report some almost 20 years later. And it reads as, today, 18 years later, virtually half of black families are headed by single women, and 55% of black babies are born to unmarried mothers. Gun-shy from the Monahan experience, authorities for years were reluctant to speak out about the problem. But now politicians and scholars, black and white, liberal and conservative, openly agree that the situation has reached such proportions that it has threatened to undo black economic gains of the past 3 decades. The growing alarm among blacks. The breakdown of the traditional family structure is, they say, one of the underlying causes of black poverty, not only because there is no man to provide family income, but also because women on the average earn much less than men. Moreover, many black spokesmen are saying for the first time that this is one of the most serious problems facing their communities, and that it may mean that larger proportions of coming generations of blacks will grow up to be disadvantaged. This is 83.
Yeah, there's a disadvantage. No money, no resources to help the black male, which is very important for the family. You don't have it. Hey, how you going to have a family? One thing you cannot remove from human nature is that desire to mate. Yeah, you may not want to have a child, but you want to do the deed that it takes to get a child. You know what that is? Bone chicka wong wong. And you're going to have that desire. You're going to want that. That's always going to be there, how much money you have or not. You're going to have that desire. And I remember being a young girl watching those commercials that used to really tear my heart apart. I'm 9 years old looking at children in Africa with the bellies and flies and stuff. And I'm looking at my mom saying, what's going on? Why is that? And the only thing I remember her saying that they were poor. But I'm thinking to myself, well, why is the woman standing up there with a baby in her arm, 2 kids around her? Why is she having these kids if she can't afford them? That was my thought as an 8 or 9 year old. But of course, when you get older, you realize, hey, that you still want to get your thing on. That's just nature. It's just natural. Now, today, we do have contraceptives, and you still can get pregnant with them, which a lot of men, they would still say, no, you can't. You don't want to use them. You want to use abortion and all that, and wow, 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 which I don't know why they would care when they already complaining that you got children and you have to say you had an abortion or you have an opportunity for one. That's an issue too. But that's another story. I know that the print is not clear because it's not clear on my side. So I know it sucks on YouTube. But he's reading, from the New York Times here. I think that's what he said it's come from. So that's fine. But this is all economic. It still boils down to that. And that single mother, she's not making a lot of money. That's also written here. So what it boils down to is money. Money, 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 money. That's what it boils down to. It doesn't matter. So let me see here. Let's play a little bit more here.
Okay, even they didn't know what was going to happen. Eleanor Holmes Norton, a law professor at Georgetown University who was chairman of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in the Carter administration, termed the family crisis a threat to the future of black people without equal. The problem must be resolved, the experts say, because otherwise society at large will have to pay the price either in compensatory measures to prop up the fractured lives or in strife and social conflict as the gap widens between the privileged and the excluded. Ain't that the truth? Anonymous.
Yes, that is the truth. And what is this? 89, and I think the first one was 72. What B just played at the round table. Still the same thing. They're just talking about it. They know what the answer is. If you give people opportunity, they'll work. They will. Now, with the way things are now, and we have all the technology, it may be a little harder now. It may be a little bit harder, but that money was not out there for those men. And all these years has gone past, and look what our community looks like. So they know what the answer was. They mention it each time. They know it's economics. But like I said, they're not trying to help us. If they have bombed Oklahoma, what the heck you think they care about you? They don't. They did it years ago. Play a little bit more.
Unmistakable correlation. It is an open question which is more important. The breakdown in family structure causes poverty, or that poverty is a cause of the breakdown. But the correlation between the two is unmistakable, and it is prompting a serious debate over the causes of the problem and a search for solutions. A study last summer by the Center for the Study of Social Policy, a nonpartisan research group, showed that in all races, families headed by women were twice as likely as two-parent families to be poor. Half of all families headed by black women have incomes below the poverty line, the study showed. The study noted that in 1981, the average income of black families with two working parents was 84% of the average for white families, where both parents worked, an increase from 73% 13 years earlier. In contrast, a primary reason that the average income for all black families with children was just 56% of the average for whites, the study concluded, was that 47% of families were headed by women, 70% now, as against 14% of white ones. Losses exceed gains. Moynihan said that. He said, if we don't do something now, it's going to get worse. And what he said was the plight of the black family may be outside the control of the government to correct.
Okay, and I'm going to say, the study was done with Moynihan, and he was correct. Okay, it really doesn't take Einstein to know that some money is going to be needed to help the family as a unit. They need help. Hello. I put the link to the show in the chat room if someone wants to come up, so that way I can even test the strength when someone is on the stream while I'm sharing. Also, I'm going to test again either Monday night or Tuesday because I have a call I'm putting in for a technician to come out on Monday. Hopefully, they'll keep the appointment. If so, maybe I might stream Monday, but definitely Tuesday and test out if it works better. Um, but yeah, see, just think about it. They were talking in the 70s, something got to be done, something got to be done, and then this article is in the 80s. Well, look what's going on. Yeah, something else need to be done, or it's gonna get worse. We're in the 2000s now. Well, of course, it's gonna get worse. But you see what's going on with the immigration. They got um, all kind of funding and offers for them. Isn't that interesting? And Cerulean has talked about that. That's why I really enjoy his content because a lot of those things I would not have privy. Maybe I would have, but I wasn't privy to that information. And for him to go through the budget and explain, look, this money is for immigration and this budget is for this. And I'm like, well, shoot, well, there you go. So I, like I said, I played some more of this. Still goes back to funding. Need money. Things gonna get worse. Like I said, you don't need um, any type of degree to understand money is the answer to a lot of problems. A lot of them, maybe not all, but a lot of them. And you need that so you can eat better, have a better quality of life. That's just the bottom line. What is the two reasons for divorces? There's two top reasons. We know one is money. I think that's number one. And then the second one, um, well, it had been said sex, but I think infidelity has taken over that one. But whichever way, it's still part of sex. So, but money is definitely an issue. I'll fight with you too, baby. The lights gonna be cut off. Well, we just have to light some candles. Oh, that's your attitude? So you don't want us to be comfortable and have lights? Girl, get out my face. What? You'll be in a fight. You're right. If you're not comfortable. Women likes the nest and they like a nice comfortable nest. Yes, they do. We need that. That's not going to change ever. No year. Let me play a little bit more.
And he was actually right. Since black female headed households are the most rapidly increasing proportions of all black families, the fact that they have not gained economic ground has more than offset the increases made by the other types of black families, the report said. The principal author of the report was the director of the center, Tom Joe, who was a welfare official in the Nixon administration. Wow, that's going all the way back. In one sense, according to some experts, single black mothers may represent a vanguard. These experts suggest that more and more white women will become single parents as they build a longer tradition of working and financial independence. Boy, this is like, they were like predicting the future. But the far-reaching effects on the black community might be mitigated among whites, partly because white women tend to get divorced less often than blacks and tend to marry more often. I always say black women are the least married and the most divorced. And they said it right there.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. If they don't have men to support them, well, he gonna get down on his knee with his minimum wage job, and he can't even take care of himself because he lives at home or with someone. Yeah, I hope he wouldn't think to get married because that doesn't work. I've actually seen that because when you're young, all you got is those butterflies, like the late Michael Jackson was singing about. You got butterflies. You look, all you're thinking about is those butterflies. That's it. And you want to be with that person. You want to be under and with that person. But you don't know anything about them bills have to be paid the first of the month, every month. No skipping. Got a child. They need diapers, formula every day. You can't skip Tuesday because it's Tuesday. You got to do it every day. So yeah. And then now, just today, a lot of women make more money than men. They are not marrying men. Plus, we outnumber men. That's another thing. So every black woman will not be married. What is the number now? I think it was 9-1. I think I last heard in 2020. I don't know what the numbers are now to each man. But hey, Vonda, I'm gonna tell you, it's something. What's her name? Tanya TKO. She said somebody came in her chat room and was talking about women had chose food, pretty much food or welfare over a man. And her response was so funny to me. I'm like, I got to clip that response out. Let me play it for you.
According to the Nicorology of 2021, they're like, Food stamps took us out the home. Let me tell you something. If a voucher for some food or standing in a line to get a block of cheese and some powdered milk took you out the home, you wasn't doing shit in that home.
I literally fell out. I just literally just slid on the floor. I'm like, well, that is a very good way of looking at it. Because think about it, like I just said, if someone knocked on my door and say, "Hey, I got some government benefits for you. You just got to get rid of James." I'm not going to do that. But if I'm hungry and my children is hungry and I can't find James and James up the block hanging out or whatever he doing, I'm going to take that to feed me and my babies. Or more so, I'm looking at my babies. I can figure out how to eat. My babies, I got to get them some food. So if that is the price, then that is the price. But like I said, I need some 80-year-olds to really tell me about it. Because just the hearsay doesn't mean anything. I need the actual people to tell me. Where is James? James, where you at? Where's the voucher that your wife taken to get rid of you? That's what I want to know. Did that happen to you? Because I don't see it happening like that. I think it's just like with today, with the laws that if you want any type of assistance, you have to give up, and you don't even have to really. You don't know this all the time. It depends on what state you're in, but you have to give the father's name for that wicked stuff so they can bill that man. They say, "Hey, this your child. We're giving your child whatever the powdered milk and other stuff, and we're gonna bill you this. And here you go. Here's your bill for your child. We don't know what's going on. If y'all getting along, you're together or whatever. Hey, but here's your bill. Pay it. You have no choice." That's what they're doing. All right, I'll play a little bit more here.
It's right there. It's in stats, but they just read it. They just put it out there. This is 1983. The problems of single mothers, black and white, are compounded by the fact that working women, on average, earn less than men. According to the Census Bureau, the median earnings of working black women last year was actually slightly higher than those of working white women, $7,802 versus $7,640. But the average working man earned about twice as much, $15,373. That's not true anymore. White women make a lot more than they did back then. With the next generation, Ms. Norton said, we could see a proportionally greater numbers of disadvantaged people than in this generation because of the proportion of children who get their start in life as children of single girls and women. Experts voiced disagreement. While politicians and social scientists agree that the dissolution of the black family structure has been a main cause of poverty among blacks, they disagree sharply over why such disintegration has occurred and over the possible remedies. One camp, which includes many members of the Reagan administration, argues that the nation's welfare system has encouraged families to split up, see, it wasn't us, and has led to the state of welfare dependency for generation after generation of blacks. He's not too far away from that, okay, as far as being right. They would reduce government social programs, require able individuals on welfare to work, and place more emphasis on apprehending fathers and forcing them to pay child support. Oh my goodness. I lived through this transition, man, where they started going after the so-called deadbeat dead. This is the beginning of the deadbeat dead. And this is 83 is actually when Nixon kind of took us out of austerity measures. Another camp comprising many liberals and most, but not all, black scholars believes that the causes are much more complex, but center on the history of discrimination against blacks in this country and the inability of black men to find work to support their families. Did not Moynihan say that in 1965? Did he not say that? The whole piece was about that line was what the Moynihan was about back in 1965, right? And this is damn near 20 years later, they're still saying the same thing. They say the situation would be much worse if it were not for the government welfare programs. And they would expand both these programs and various social services designed to counsel black families, discourage teenage pregnancies, and help single women with children to make it on their own. Bill Clinton tried to do that in 1996.
Counseling. What we counseling about? Wait a minute. Let me see if I can rewind that back. Counseling. Need some damn money, some resources. What you talking about? Wait a minute. What did he say? What this article say?
Camp, comprising many liberals and most, but not all, black scholars, believes that the causes are much more complex but center on the history of discrimination against blacks in this country and the inability of black men to find work to support their families. Did not Moynihan say that in 19?
Yeah, and if anyone, like I said, I don't have the Moynihan report, but just BGS is saying Moynihan said this back in 65. So it's written in there that the men don't have work. So how are you going to have the family? How are you going to have a family if the men don't have work? How are they going to, they still want to have sex. They're going to hit up on some woman. Some woman going to like him and cook him some biscuits and stuff. And next thing, bone, she go, wow, wow. And she could be pregnant. Now, back in 65, I don't know. I would have to look it up to see if, which I can't, let me see. I don't know. I'm wondering if birth control was available. Were they allowed to have birth control? Because they were still fighting back then, I think, to still sit at a darn white only counter. So, hey, so I don't know. But let's think about this one more time when it comes down to a welfare taking men out the home, that particular phrase. It only can be if they were married though. You can only count those couples that was married. In which I go back to saying, how is it that you knock on my door and say, hey, if you get rid of your husband, James, we'll give you, we'll help feed you and your child that's hungry. James, he can go out somewhere else and eat. Just get rid of him. So no, you had to have been married. Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Well, like I said, it keeps boiling back to the men didn't have any way to feed themselves or their family. These folks know that. They didn't care. This is the same what we have with politics today. Same thing. We need more jobs. We need to cut taxes. That's what we need to do. And if you vote for me, that's a vote for cutting taxes and more jobs and opportunities. It's the same thing every 4 years. The same thing. Now it's what decades, 4 decades, 4 or 5 decades. The same thing. Well, something needs to be done because the black family, and they there's no opportunity for the men to get jobs. Well, then there's no money available to. So it's the same thing each year. I mean, each decade when it comes down to this. So I don't know what's the next any other articles that talks about this as far as the black family and the condition of it. Um, but it still goes to be the same thing. What in the world is going on? Hey, Oni the ghost, how are you? Watch it, watch how you use them eyes now. You look at them, you be mesmerizing them, mesmerizing them. Yes, you do. Watch it now. But yeah, what you say, Vonda? Failure to discipline contribute to the fall of the black community. Well, we as women, we want the sex, and the men they want to give it. We all want some, so um, that's never going to go away. Like I, gave you the scenario of the other poor countries. They have a lot of children, though, don't they? Don't have no food, but the one thing they want to do is bon chicka wow wow. because that's just a natural thing to do, a natural desire to want to mate. Maybe not have children, but you still want to get your freak on. Want to get your freak on, get your freak on. Yeah. All right, Oni. I hear you. I hear you. But yeah, yeah, they have to have been married in order to be counted that way because that's not taking them out the home because he could live with his mom, she could live with hers, and or even if they live together, eh, what does that mean? So nope, 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 nope. Gonna listen some more.
1965. Did he not say that the whole piece was about that line was what the Moynihan was about back in 1965, right? And this is damn near 20 years later. They're still saying the same thing. They say the situation would be much worse if it were not for the government welfare programs, and they would expand both these programs and various social services designed to counsel black families, discourage teenage pregnancies, and help single women with children to make it.
Okay, counsel black families. I'm wondering what that counsel black family is. Get together with the family, the mother, the child, and the father, and say, we're going to counsel you. You don't make that much money. We don't have no money for you. We're just going to talk to you. We're going to counsel you. I know it's tough, but you got to hang in there. You got to, James, you're going to have to get a second and third job and just hang in there. So I'm just wondering what the counseling is as far as birth control and everything. Okay, if that was opened up, okay, I got you. I got that's opened up, so that's cool. All right, let's listen a little bit more.
On their own. Bill Clinton tried to do that in 1996. Here are the arguments advanced by experts in both camps. Welfare. For many years, the nation's primary welfare program, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, AFDC, denied benefits to families if an adult male was in the house. Did we not just say that? We had arguments for like 4 hours over this shit. This is 1983. They're saying that. That's the freaking man in the house rule. Black women had to choose checks over fathers. If they wanted the check, they had to put the father out of the house.
Okay, there it is. It's changed a little bit, the phrase. If they want the check, they have to put the father out the house. Well, in the words of Tanya TKO, I got to play that again. I'm sorry. I got to play it one more time.
According to the Nicarology of 2021, they're like, food stamps took us out the home. Let me tell you something. If a voucher for some food or standing in a line to get a block of cheese and some powdered milk took you out the home, you wasn't doing shit in that home.
And there you go. Because, why? I'm not getting rid of James. James loved me. I love James. And he's doing what he can do. And everyone can go through a tough time, of course. But if this is my husband, we're just going through a tough time. We're going to do what we're going to do, save, cut back, move, whatever. But if we have to, I mean, how does that work? If it's that bad, I gotta feed the kids. And James should understand. Like, baby, I can't find no job. Man, look, you better go cut some hair, pick up some cans, something. Me and Timmy, we hungry. And I'm gonna feed Timmy. What you want me to go on the street? I'm already doing OnlyFans. I don't know what else to do. But I don't think that was available then. But come on now. Um, if the father was there in the home, that's what I'm at. My question now is, was this a marriage? Because if it's a marriage, then you're going to fight and you're going to do all you can. If it's that bad, and it's really bad if you can't, if it gets that bad, you don't have any in-laws that can help you, eat or anything, you all can move in for a short time with your parents, grandparents, anybody. I just not seeing um, that voucher being a replacement for a husband. That's what I don't see. Because this is not like they're going to give you lobster and salmon and that type of thing. You know, this is a small amount of money that you got to manage in 30 days until the next voucher or allowed amount is given. I wonder if anyone asked that question. The man that's in the home, were they married? Because if he wasn't married, what it really, you were just living together. So is that really taking the man out the home when y'all were just living together? You boyfriend and girlfriend, forever fiance? Mm, nah. And I can't even think of a great amount to get rid of James. That's right, Vonda. I'm using James. I remember you used to use that name. So that's who my husband gonna be, James. So I'm thinking, if someone knock on my door today, if I have opportunity for me and my child, have my baby at 50, like Janet Jackson, we hungry, and James is not doing too well. He wants to be on the video games all the time, and he want to be online. Just James just gonna have to straighten up. But if we hungry, hey, come on now, I gotta do something. Okay, let's read here. We have to understand that our environment was affected at large, from schools to neighborhoods, yep, to our assets to take care of our women. We have to look at it from the sky view. That's right, extended clips. That is so correct. And that's what I'm asking. They had these round tables every decade or so saying, something got to be done for the black family, something got to be done. So they already knew the answer. Opportunity for the black men. That was the answer. They didn't care. They just talked about it. And then probably the next election time they mention it again, and then that's pretty much how it goes. Hey, Classic Ruby, I am sorry I didn't greet you. Greeting, greeting, greeting. If you want to come up, come on up for a second. I'm going to be ending in a half hour. I'm going to, because Cerulean is going to go live. And we need to support the gray regime. Yes, we do. Commander! Commander! Inside joke. But yeah, now I will throw this out there, Ruby. Now, if James is, slacking in the bedroom and, I don't know, some things, I'm kind of dealing with, and I get that knock on the door and they say, hey, Miss Willie, yes, we'll give you 2,000 a month. You can have salmon. We'll give you a voucher where you can get salmon 5 days a week. And we can we'll pay your light, gas, telephone, all that stuff. You can get that for free. But you're not married to James. Y'all just shacking up. Guess what? James got to go. James gonna need a new zip code. 60644. You better go find the brat. Now, James, if you do a little bit better, get your weight up, I'll hit you up on the weekend, that thing I like. I'll see you then. But yeah, I'll trade James in then. But that's my new pension. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Let's listen a little bit more.
Bar was stricken in 1968, and states were permitted but not required to recover two-parent families in which a would-be breadwinner was unemployed or underemployed. Some people believe that the man in the house rule has contributed to family breakup by forcing fathers to to leave the home. Others disagree. Mr. Joe, for example, noted that New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and 18 other states, which together account for 70% of the nation's families on welfare, offer aid that covers unemployed fathers in the home. Yet only about 300,000 such families are covered out of a national welfare caseload of 3.6 million, where we cover unemployed fathers. Bullshit. War on poverty is blamed. The conservative economist George Gilder asserts that conservatives were right in their predictions that the income redistribution programs of President Johnson's war on poverty would result in destroying the incentives and families of the poor. In an attack this fall on what he termed the welfare state disaster, Mr. Gilder wrote, current programs will continue to create a criminal underclass of unlisted male welfare beneficiaries who exploit the welfare trap by living off a series of female recipients. Hobosexuals, okay? This is
Hey, they need to go somewhere. So if a woman let them in, hey, back to nature. We have women have needs, and the men have them too. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you want to get it on. So yeah, I could see that. She used what she has available and say, hey, come on in, James. You can stay. And yeah, greetings, Classic Ruby. How are you?
Why, good evening and a lovely hump day to you, ma'am. I figured I had to come up and help out with the test today because, it's been so long since we've gotten together on a Wednesday, which used to be our day with the radio show, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, slide up in here.
Thank you.
Right, but I think the argument. I'm no disrespect, BGS, but I've always said it. It sounds stupid as hell to me. It really does. It's a ridiculous argument that they really are saying that, oh, Black families were just fine, but Black women are so it's not even hypergamy. They're so like small-minded and so hyper like greedy that $50 is worth everything in life, that the government said, here, I'm gonna give you, probably back then, what, like $75 a month, and all you've got to do is throw a man out and live alone forever, unless you're just getting run through when you go visit him, but that's it. And they were all like, oh my god, that's a great exchange, right? Like, first of all, I don't really see women in mass honestly making that decision. But if they did,
Mhm.
is the failure on women, let's be honest here, or is the failure on, like, how bad of a man, let's be real, how bad of a husband and father do you have to be
Break
that
it
your
down, Ruby.
presence is worth
Break it
less
down.
than $100 a month? Real talk. Like, how worthless are you that $100 a month was worth more than your presence? Like, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was Tanya TK. Oh, when I heard her say that, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm. Right?
Greetings, Vonda. Welcome, welcome.
Hey,
Hello,
girl.
Char. Hey, Classic Ruby. This is so different. We're here on a Wednesday, ladies. So you
Right?
know what? I feel the same way. My thing is that, you know, there seems to be a lot of blame placed on the woman because she accepted aid to support her household. But
Mhm.
my thing is that how bad was James if all Mr. Charlie got to do is offer you a book $100 food stamps
Mm-hmm.
and a couple $100, and you know what, James, you got to get the hell out, is what Essie Mae said to him.
Mhm.
James, it's
Mm-hmm.
time for you to go because Mr. Charlie done came through with a better deal. And I just, you know what, I'm sorry because Mr. Charlie ain't putting down what James is putting down.
Mm-hmm.
So, if James is bringing home the bacon and he's bringing home the loving and he's bringing home the support to the family, Mr. Charlie, if you don't get from out in front of my house, I'm going to have to deal with you. So my
Mhm.
thing is that how in my opinion, how useless was James if Mr. Charlie can just come on in, with $100 book of food stamps and a couple $100, and now James got to go, and I ain't getting no
Mhm.
loving. I'm not getting no time with the kids with my man.
Mhm.
James is just gone. Is James? Why would you leave on just
Mhm.
that?
Right.
Yeah, I would. You would think James would be fighting like, look, woman, you only getting $100, $150 for you and little Timmy. I'm gonna go
Mhm.
find a better job. I'm gonna get a second job so I
Right.
can provide that 150 or even more a month.
Right.
Because
Right.
think about it too. If she accepts this money, if it's only 150, because it wasn't much back in the 60s, I'm pretty
It
sure.
never was. It
Mhm.
ain't even
Well,
now.
yes, never was.
Right.
But
Yeah.
what about her overall, the place for her to stay? That's the other thing. And I
Mhm.
would think if you're a couple, if you're married, James is on the lease with you.
Mhm.
So how you
Mhm.
gonna get rid of James just because you're taking the $150 public
Right.
assistance? So I don't get that.
Well,
I
it's
don't get
even
it.
Yeah.
worse than that, Shar, because if we're talking about like the 50s and stuff, like, okay, by then we had come a little way, but women were still just coming out of that phase where they had to have a man to sign up for the bank account because they couldn't have one independently, or get a loan or anything. So, generally you needed a man. People didn't want to trust you, right? They didn't want to trust women, so just put just a woman's name on the lease. They didn't trust that women were, financially responsible like that and stuff still. So, I mean, just the whole argument doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think sometimes, again, no disrespect, sir, no disrespect, but he was not like, it's not like he was like 30 years old in 1950, right? So he can just talk about it like it happened yesterday. Um,
Mhm.
we're we're talking about a child's perspective of things, right? And there was this time we were on Bitter Truth show, and BGS was there, and Art Newstall was there, and his father, Art Newstall's father, came on. Now,
Mhm.
that father is about 15, 20 years older than BGS. He's older than him. And
Okay.
so, therefore, at these times that we're talking about, he was old enough to know, because he was an adult at the time, so to understand the adult business going on. And you
Oh,
got a completely different perspective. Um, and I actually even said, I remember after he was speaking, and I said, yeah, I've been saying that's my perspective too. But BG said I was wrong, and he was alive at that time, but he was young. The older man said, no, people just said they were alone, right? Because they had to run this hustle, because they needed to bring in the extra income to the family right now, because the husband was laid off. He's between jobs. The money he's making can't cut it. They can't afford. So they were trying to use this as a stopgap, in between of things. When the lady was going to come visiting, he would go run out, pretend he didn't live there and stuff. But generally, right, people were not just in mass kicking out their husbands. They weren't. This was a
But you
plan that the wife and husband made to try to
and
help
so
them.
so it was all a plan. It was a ruse. So the men, for them to come back, if for any man to come back and say, "Oh, she put me out for a check," dude, you was
Mm-hmm.
in on the whole scam.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Right.
basically, you knew they were going to give, support to the woman. So with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, if you were lacking, in your patriarchy, in your support for the family, and we gonna, get on this system, and we're gonna make it work for us. You knew what the deal was. You knew that this is what it was. You was still there, because my thing is that they keep talking about the man was taking out the home. Where the hell did he go?
Right.
There was
I
not
don't
a whole
know.
drove of homeless black men without families living somewhere in a parking lot some damn where. That is
Mm-hmm.
BS. So these
Right.
men were still there.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Absolutely.
It's
Well, two
ridiculous.
things. I want to find that stream. I would like to hear it because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I need to hear from an 80-year-old around that age that knows that was there, and he
Right.
could tell me what happened. And then two, um, and that's what I mentioned. Are these people married? Because why would you? If you're a couple, you work together.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so if it's so bad that you do have to do that, you're still working together. You're going to either go to a family member. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, people did live together, families lived together. I
Mm-hmm.
Right.
remember my mom having her sister or my aunt live with us for a while. I remember my dad had his brother, my uncle, living with us.
Right.
These things we
Mm-hmm.
did, to help each other. So I'm sure if we fell on bad times, we would have lived with a family member too.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's why
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, because even if you go back to the original thought of the woman did say, "Hey, James, you got to go." She still have to pay rent, and public aid or whatever it was called at that time was not covering all of that. They were only giving you food.
Mm-hmm.
So to
Right.
get rid of a whole body man with all that muscle and biceps and triceps and
And that
oh Lord,
Mm-hmm.
productivity, because if
whew,
he can still bring
Right.
home an income, it's like, why are we gonna let an able-bodied man out just for
mhm.
some, this right here?
Mm-hmm.
We'll make the system think, oh, James ain't here, but really James is really bringing it home, and we're doing even better. Why wasn't that the case?
Right. I don't have an
Yeah.
answer for you. They don't have an answer for you either. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that black men were put out the house because ain't no woman strong armed you and put you out the house and you're bringing home a decent paycheck. If you wasn't bringing nothing home, then yeah, it's time for you to leave when Mr. Charlie come knocking on the door to do his inspection.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, from what I've seen last week, some woman came after BJ saying he didn't know what he was talking about, and it
Mhm.
just flared up a whole lot of stuff. Everybody talking about this. I said, well, let me see what the last video, which was this one here, which is short. I'm like, okay, well, I'll use this as a test stream, and I'll ask
Mhm.
some questions because I never asked questions. It didn't concern me. I don't concern myself with everything someone says. It's just not that important to me. It's just not. I've
Mhm.
heard a lot of people say a lot of things, but I don't ask questions if it doesn't concern me. I may ask it
Mhm.
in my mind, like, I wonder why that would be. That doesn't
Right.
make sense. Or I wonder why she did that, or whatever. I have it in my mind. I won't verbally ask the question because it's not important to me. So
Right.
that's why I'm stating um, some things I'm just not going to ask. But now, since all this stuff have come and they attack the man, that's the issue I have. You can attack what the person says as far as disagree with them, but why go after the man? You don't have to call BGS names and stuff. I'm like, come on, you don't have to go that far.
Right.
Just
Right.
deal with the content of what
Attack
was
the
said.
point.
That's
Yeah,
it.
attack the point and not
Mhm.
the man. You know what? I completely agree
Right.
with that. A lot of people, they say things that you don't necessarily agree with, but my thing is that, as a content creator, whether they personally agree with, what it is that they're saying, they're actually delivering content, and my
Mhm.
thing is I don't like to attack the person. I like to listen to the message
Mhm.
and then take from that, what, I don't agree, and hopefully they don't get all offended because I don't agree with their message, because that's really what it is. As a content creator, everybody's not going to agree with the message that you're presenting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the two things I have to ask is or say with all of this is um with the information that BGS has and he's given us,
Hmm.
um, and he repeats as far as the woman took the voucher or whatever over the man. Those not the exact words, of course. I'm just saying, you know what I'm actually stating. I would just ask if he knows of anyone, because I would actually like to talk to that person. And
Mm-hmm.
then, two, I would like to see if I can find that Bitter Truth show and play it maybe on my next
And then
testing,
that's
which will be Monday, because Monday or Tuesday, because I put in an order for Monday, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they will cancel on you. So
mm-hmm.
the internet provider is going to come out Monday. That's what right now is scheduled. And I'll test if I can find that stream. If not, I got to find something that's short, and we'll have another one to ask questions. But I ask that everyone, just ask questions. Just think about some things. You don't have to accept everything what someone says,
Mm-hmm.
and just think for yourself. Just like, I wonder why that is.
But you know
Mhm.
what, Shar, what I've used, when I first started hearing this, I really used my common sense. And the way my common sense laid out to me is that, for me, because I've been taking care of myself since I was 17 years old.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So when it comes down to that, when it starts with me, and when it ends with me.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to look to anybody else. So when these men can sit up here and they can say, oh, well, we were taking out the home. Um, since I was 17, no one has ever taken me out of my home. I've not been removed from my home because I was inadequate with regards to how I supported that household. If I was supporting
Hmm.
the household, if I was, caring for myself, I continued to do that. So there was no knock on the door that said, "Oh, Vonda, yeah, it's time for you to go," because said person who's in charge of the household has said, "You've got to leave because you ain't doing shit."
Hmm.
Um that I so I call bullshit on the man was taking out the home, because any man who would even allow himself to be taken out of the home, I'd have to talk to him and say, well, what kind of man were you? Because me as a woman, and I don't even propose to be, over a man or stronger than a man, but I'm take care of my household. I pay the cost to be the boss. I've been hearing that since I was like 6, 7 years old. You pay the
Hmm.
cost to be the boss. So if you are paying the cost to be the boss, how's somebody gonna knock on your door and say, "Oh, Vonda, you have to leave"? I wish somebody would come knock on my door and say, "Vonda, yeah, it's time for you to go. Someone has accepted a voucher in this household, so y- you need to leave." Like, what?
Yeah, and like I said, you're on a
It's really
lease.
that short and simple. It really is. So I I just I completely reject that argument that the man was taken out of the home. No man was taken out the home who didn't leave on his own accord.
Okay. Well, like I said, there was a lease. That was for sure. It wasn't a home. It was an actual lease to an apartment, and you're both on it. And your lease doesn't end till December. And how is it in April? Whoever this person is, say you got to go, James. You got to go. But I'm on the lease. Well, she hungry, the baby hungry. You gotta go because we're gonna give her this voucher for some food. You gotta go, James. I'm sorry, even though you're on a lease, and that doesn't make sense to me. But like I said, just ask the question and just think about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say James probably wasn't on the lease because he wasn't paying. If you paying, you gonna be on the lease, and that's something you gonna know for sure. It's not gonna be, well, I thought that you ain't gonna thought nothing. You know for damn sure that you're on the lease, and that there's a level of confidence. There's a level of straight up arrogance. Like, no, I'm paying up over here. Nobody's about to come tell me that I'm about to leave.
Say I ain't going.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, again, right? So argument out thoroughly. And the reason why I remember is because in my life experience, my whole life from childhood, whatever, everyone I knew that was on any type of social assistance in both of these countries, America and Canada, it did not affect their status as far as them living with their man or not. Didn't. In fact, if anything, I knew people who had both the husband and the wife. The husband's on disability, the wife's on welfare, and they live in the same house, but they registered their stuff to mom's house or whatever, claim that they're separated, whatever, and then they just have the money coming in. So my point is yeah, it's a system that you can hustle if you want to hustle it. And at the end of the day, they set up the system in such a way that unless you're hustling, unless you're running some scam somewhere, it's literally impossible for it to support you. I mean, I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. And so basic assistance here, for example, basic assistance, if you don't get anything else tacked on, you're just a single person, you go out for basic assistance, it's $525 a month you get. Now, you can't even rent a room these days in anywhere that I know of for under $900 a month. So they're not even giving you 50%. They're barely giving you 50%. And that's in total. That's for your groceries. That's for your rent. That's for your transportation. That's for everything. Not only that, but they used to audit you. So you had to prove that if they gave you transportation money, you spent it on transportation money. Or if you gave you rent money, you spent it on rent. So it's like, okay, they've always kind of been like this, where they wanted to be sticklers and this and that, but they also never gave you enough money to make ends meet. Never. So people were running hustles. They were saying, my husband, oh, he moved out. He disappeared. I don't know where he went. Right. And maybe they sent out someone one time, maybe to inspect your place. Maybe. But to be honest with you, the stories that they're trying to tell, like there was this team, this overwhelmingly large team of people whose job it was to show up at your house all kinds of days of the week at all different times to check to make sure no man's living at your house. Like, really? Since when has the government had that kind of money? Since when? Explain to me. I'll wait.
No,
right?
that didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. James was not inconvenienced whatsoever, you know, due to his layoff. It's like, okay, Miss Sassafras might come through Monday through Friday because them is working days, between 8 and 5. So she show up. James already knew that he had to be ghost if she was going to show up, because if he wasn't working and he wasn't providing, he was not bringing into the household the ample benefits needed to run that household, and he knew that, said benefits could be gotten over here, James is going to have his ass scarce. He about to go to his mama's house. But guess what? His mama was not about to be housing James every night. James, when you going home? So the whole thing, it was all understood. James was not, laying out in the street next to a garbage can like Oscar the Grouch. That wasn't going on. James wasn't doing that. James was like, okay, well, because James wasn't paying the cost to be the boss, James had to maneuver and, duck and dodge, to make sure shit ran smoothly. Because James got 4 kids up over here, and Eartha May is like, look, James, you're not about to mess with my benefits. If you're not bringing the benefits home, I got to rely on Mr. Charlie to bring home the benefits. So therefore, they may be here Monday through Friday. And when it shit hits the fan, James, I need you to be Casper. I need you to be invisible. So that's what it was. And James was like, all right, I got you. Because guess what? My name is James and I ain't got no job. So, yeah, and my mama's not going to put up with me for, more than 3 days at a time. So, yeah, I'm about to come back over here, with you. So, yeah, Miss Sassafras shows up, I'm going to be ghost. So, come on, James knew what the deal was. He just was not, just living off some damn where and all these men, on this particular date in this particular year, they left in droves. That it's bullshit. And
Of course it is.
you're not going to sit up here and tell me that didn't happen. Hell no, it didn't happen. These men
No.
went to their mama's house. They went to their other baby mama's house because they were on a different grid than where James was really located at. So that's just what it was.
Girl, he was out looking for a job or playing basketball. How many of these men that they're talking about in the right age category sit at their house all day, every day when they're not employed? To begin with, some of these men, most of them probably were employed. They were just underemployed, but they were also out looking for a job. They were out playing ball with their friends. They were out visiting people and whatever. They just knew they had to be not home between the hours of, say, 7 and 3 p.m. Because since when do government workers work at 9, 10, 11, 12? They're showing up at your house
They
at 2
don't do
a.m.
that. You're right.
Right?
You're right.
Like,
They don't
that
do
was
that.
never happening, first of all. Second of all, and this is always confusing to me, right? So just depending on the context, right? The time between the 50s and the 80s was the greatest time in the world for the Black community and Black love and Black relationships and Black marriage and whatever. And then it's also the time that apparently, though, women had already thrown out all their men in droves, right? Or just to get a welfare check, despite the fact that at that time we had a very low welfare rate. So there was no fathers in the home anymore, apparently, because of the introduction of welfare, despite the fact that at the introduction of welfare, we had a very low user rate, right? Very few of us actually had welfare. So, okay, that's problem number one. Right? Problem number two is, okay, so we had the highest rates of marriage, right? But then all of these married men and women who, remember, this was very functional. The women just turned around and made independent decisions to throw all that away. No, the men and women sat down. They said, yo, baby, maybe he got laid off from his good job, whatever it is. They're struggling to make ends meet. The kid needs new shoes, whatever. And they made this plan together. They sat down and said, baby, you do this. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I will hold the L as a man, and you just go get this money. You tell them whatever you need to tell them about me for you to get that money. So it's coming in to feed our kids. And until I get another job that really supports us. I don't want you out there, baby, working 14 hours a day. That's what he's saying to his wife. I don't want you out there working 14 hours a day to try to make that money because our kids need you. So you're going to go, you're going to get that welfare, you're going to bring it in. I'm going to keep looking a job. And you know what? When that woman's supposed to show up, and we'll know, because when the white lady in the fancy car starts driving into the neighborhood, trust me, Mrs. So-and-so who lives at that corner house is going to call us and let us know. And then you know what? I'll go be elsewhere. You know what I mean? Like, let's stop acting like Black people are not stupid, right? We feel like we're a bunch of idiots.
I completely agree with that, Ruby. And you know what? The folks who were receiving the benefits already knew what it was. It wasn't what? I have to leave. What are you talking? Stop it. Stop it. Nobody was sitting up there under that pretense that I didn't know that I had to leave, or guess what? In order for me to get these benefits, you're going to have to, be scarce. You can't be here. That was already a given. And you know what? It's not even necessarily, the man saying, oh, this is what it's going to be. She was like, look, fool, you ain't got it. So I got to get it. And this is how I got to get it. And this is what it's going to be. And he was like, you know what? Right.
No, I'm sorry. The old man said that no, like everything, like he even said, it's stupid when women were putting their men out, right? If people were on welfare, they were making plans together. This was a financial plan like any other financial plan. Like that old man, I'm telling you. And the thing is, like he was just shutting down the narratives left, right, and center. He's like, no, people were getting married. They weren't getting married because they had to. They were getting married because they found someone they loved. You should have heard him. He was just running it down. Y'all have this magical idea about what the hell was happening. He's like, no, that's not what, none of that's true. None of that. He just told us the truth. And he was around for it. He's not talking about some theory. But you know how his face is. They only care about theory.
One thing about people in the system, people who are in the system, guess what? They know the system. They know the system and they know how it works. So when we're talking about these people, if these women were, even given this opportunity for these benefits, they were already in the system in some kind of way. You know, nobody knocked on the door and said, hey, are you struggling? Do you need help? You know, and if it was, then, you know, the plan goes a little bit deeper, you know, than we ever could have thought, you know. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, I think both parties were very aware of how the situation worked, and it was agreed upon because these women were not celibate, you know, with no men in the home. It was the appearance giving that the man was not there. And the way that it worked is that, hey, my name is Mr. Charlie. Is there a man here? That could, no, there's no man here. Because Mr. Charlie not going to be giving you money for an old grown, you know, sweaty, bald man that can sit up there and go and make a living and sit up there and support this other man's, you know, women and children. If, you know, her man is just laid up right next to her. Mr. Charlie,
yes, they would though.
How big of a fool you think Mr. Charlie is?
No, they would. That's the thing, Vonna. See, this is what everyone is missing. The problem is not that there's two people inside of this home. Because having two adults inside this home, as long as they are both not working, they are both provably unemployed, right? Then you still qualify for welfare. Okay, so then what's the issue? The issue is, again, that the man was underemployed. He was making money, but it was a part-time job. He wasn't making enough money. It wasn't making ends meet anymore, probably because he got laid off. Or because his hours got cut or whatever. So that would be the only reason why you wouldn't need to put out. You don't need to put out your pookie. You don't. As long as he don't work, it's not gonna. He's just another one of your grown ass children, right? Like a lot of people, I think what they're doing is they're mixing a bunch of different things together. So like they're mixing together the fact that yes, when women started, you know, sleeping around a little bit more, let's be real, before, you know, not getting married, shotgun weddings and whatnot, right? And so they were having these children out of wedlock. The father's on the birth certificate. It's like, yeah, just come get some welfare. We'll help you. And so they were applying for the welfare. The welfare was being sent to them. They had no idea that the state was going after the fathers that were listed on the birth certificate. They didn't know. They weren't trying to punish the fathers, right? The government lied in essence. And it's a big issue that everyone at that time admits is true. Right? The women weren't being malicious, trying to hurt these men with child support and whatever. They didn't know that that's what was going to happen. That's initially how that whole system set up.
No, I agree. The women were not trying to be malicious. No. You know, the fact of the matter is that there were these funds that were already guaranteed that were there. And the women was like, okay, you know what? I already know he ain't got it. Because it wasn't like, you know, it was like, oh, you got a job and I'm going to go get these benefits. No, he already was not unemployed. This fool was already unemployed. So she's like, well, shit, I'm not about to be completely assed out and, you know, making cloth diapers out of, you know, tablecloths because this fool is not going to be able to assist me. And I know I don't have it, you know, even with whatever income I got coming in. So it was like, no, this was guaranteed income that I knew I can get. And the guaranteed income was the income she knew she could not get from the man who was the father of the kid.
Facts.
There was no guaranteed income from him. But yeah, from the government, yeah, I'm going to get it. You know, it was not a big deal. So it's just the whole phrase, you know, welfare took the black man out the house. You know, okay, if you want to look at it symbolically, oh yeah. But for her to be able to get the welfare, that fool was already financially absent anyway. So let's face that reality. Let's face that reality.
Right. See, I think that's a good point. Looking at it symbolically, yeah, because then, you know, if you talk about before, there's no other way for you to financially support yourself. That's how it used to be. No other way to financially support yourself. So if you have a kid, yeah, you really needed to latch yourself onto a man. Especially in your kids' younger years, okay, makes sense. I'm with you on that, because in that case, then you're looking at, well, I don't have to latch myself to some lech or some guy I don't really love or blah, 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 because I can just get money. So I'm not like desperate. Okay, I can be down with that. But like this idea, it's like, oh no, the marriage was fine. He was a great man. But, you know, she wanted the welfare instead. Like what? No.
I'm not trading in no whole man
Right.
Yeah, and that's just ridiculous. And it sounds really stupid because when you think about it, it's like, okay, you got these household with these children. Where did all these men go? Was it just a whole big old exodus of all these men? Just, they was just homeless, and it was just a really bad situation. It's like, stop it. Can we cut it out? That did not happen. There's no place in history where that shit happened. So let's just stop it. These men were not just wandering around like, oh, she put me out because, she got a check. If you were already useful to the household, nobody could put you out. I've been hearing since, like I said, since I was a kid, it costs to be the boss. And guess where I heard that from? My dad. My dad was like, oh, it costs to be the boss. And guess what? He was the effing boss, and he paid the effing cost to be the boss of the household. So for a man to sit up there and say, oh, well, welfare came and knocked on the door, and she said, you know what? I'd rather have welfare than this man. Stop it. Cut it the hell out. Just cut it out. It's bullshit.
Unless you're saying something again about the incredibly low quality you think that men were at that time, that they were literally worth less than a few $100s. Because again, I think a lot of these dudes also think, right, that welfare is like a crazy amount of money. That it's just like, oh my God,
welfare is at the poverty line. That's what people don't understand. Welfare is at the poverty line. So my thing is that you would accept poverty than a job that you're actually going to, then you don't know what you're talking about. I don't even want to talk to you, because any person who knows that has worked a job knows that any job that you work, you're going to get paid more at that job than you do at welfare. Because welfare is such a little amount. So welfare is not even a lucrative thing to be on. Like, okay, I'm going to have 7 kids and I'm only going to get $500 of welfare. It's like anybody, I don't care where you're living at in the country. $500 a month is not enough for all those damn kids. You stop it.
Right.
But I want you guys to just consider, some of the things, the points that were brought up. But I think what the main thing is, people are using this Moynihan report and that particular line of welfare taking the man out the home for an excuse for what they don't have or not able to get. But if people want to use that for their lack of their, dry penis, they can continue to do that. Who am I to stop them? But guys, and anyone listening on the replay, don't shoot the messenger. BGS is a content creator. He has his opinion about different things. He's giving information. You can always challenge the information, which is challenging the content creator, but no personal attacks. We don't have to do all of that. It was just what I found was just ridiculous, spreading around the internet last week. And this week is not looking too good as a start off, as far as attacking. You did this and you did that, and you used to say this and used to say that. It's just a mess. But I want you guys to look out in your YouTube feed. Cerulean's supposed to go live, and you can go and support him, the Gray Regime. And let's see, and I will be testing Monday, no later than Tuesday, unless something comes up. I'll let you know. I'll put it on the community tab and all that good jazz. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you guys. Hope to see you this Friday for our regular scheduled program, 9:30 p.m. Central Standard. And then on Saturday, we have article reactions, and that is at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Got Kens and Karens for you. And until then, I want you guys to stay safe and peace.
Cheers, y'all.
Peace out, family.